We have a ton of these, but the fourth stimulus check, Social Security benefits, SSI and SSDI. President Biden can actually do this, and very soon we can be getting more stimulus checks for you guys. First of all, a bill introduced back in last month is now receiving a push from lawmakers, and the Social Security Expansion Act, first brought up by Bernie Sanders, seeks to alleviate pressure on America's oldest by providing Social Security with some of the extra benefits. If the bill is passed and signed, then people receiving Social Security payments or who turn 62 years old will get an additional $200 a month or $2,400 a year. Senator Sanders said in a statement, at a time when nearly half of older Americans have no retirement savings and almost 50% of our nation's seniors are trying to survive on an income of less than $25,000 a year, our job is not to cut Social Security, and it is likely that the bill will be opposed by Republicans that control the House of Representatives. Without their crucial support, the bill would not be able to be passed at present, and Republicans have said that they would not cut Social Security, though not everyone believes it. The support offered by the programs is crucial for millions of Americans to live, and according to this press release from the Senator Sanders, nearly 40% of seniors on Social Security rely on it for a majority of their income, and 1 in 7 rely on it for more than 90% of their income. Nearly half of Americans ages 55 and older have no retirement savings at all, and one of the biggest issues is how the plan will be funded. Worries persist that without the further funding, that by 2035, Social Security will no longer be able to claim their full benefit. In March, the Social Security Board of Trustees released their annual report on the financial status of the Social Security trust funds. According to the report, cash for the Social Security program will run out in 2025, and that's just in a couple years' time. If more funds are not directed to the program, there will be big problems. The next payment for SSI is May 1st. You should have received Social Security on April 3rd and SSI on April 1st if you began receiving it in May 1997. Now, inflation's grips on businesses is actually loosened greatly in March, and you should have received Social Security, everybody, many times. But now, folks, the U.S. government said plunging energy prices pulled the producer price index down 0.5% in March from February. It marks the biggest decrease in producer prices in 3 years and follows the reports showing easing inflation on broader consumer prices. Producer prices, also known as wholesale costs, track prices in the production process before they reach the consumer. As a result, the producer price index can nearly provide early insight of where inflation is headed. And lower prices paid by businesses on materials and other items means they are less likely to raise prices in the months ahead. Plus, businesses have spent much of 2022 raising prices on everything from food to clothing to restaurant meals and to even offset higher costs. In many cases, companies register profit growth because of the price increases. Consumers, meanwhile, have become more cautious and even cut spending, much more than anticipated by economists.
Okay, I'm proud to be joined by our leadership team of Senators Durbin, Murray, and Stabenow. So we had a great lunch today, really a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of new ideas on focusing on lowering costs for working families, whether it's child care or prescription drugs or semiconductor chips or filling up the gas pump, what's on the dining table, cost of food. We're coming up with solutions to address these issues. That's the big difference between Democrats and Republicans when it comes to lowering people's costs. We have real answers. They don't. They just attack. And why don't they have answers? Because much of the time it goes after the special interests that support them. So they don't want to deal with the oil companies or the meatpacking companies or the shipping monopolies. So we are focused on getting costs down, and you're going to see a lot of activity in March on us, from us on that issue. Now, let's not forget, we're a very strong economy. In President Biden's first year, the economy added 6.6 million new jobs, the most ever in a president's first year. But we're not stopping there. Now that wages are going up, we want to make sure costs go down so the average person has more money in her or his pocket. And that's what our whole lunch was about, or most of our lunch was about today. Various members came up with different ideas, and we're going to focus and we're going to come up with caucus agreement on those ideas. Not everyone will agree with each idea, but there'll be large buy-in, and you'll hear a lot about this from us as we move on. And one of the ways we're reducing costs, of course, is the competition bill to relieve U.S. supply chains. That was bipartisan. And on any of these cost-saving bills, we'll welcome Republicans joining us. If we can get 60 votes on a bunch of them, that's fine. But when we can't, we're still going to move forward And you'll see some votes on the floor on these as well. We've been pushing for years.
Approximately 666,000 frontline workers are eligible to receive this check, and it will determine who receives the bonus payments. If all eligible workers apply, then each will receive approximately $750. If fewer workers apply, then the pot will be split among those applicants. The Minnesota Senate recently passed the Comprehensive Health and Human Services Reform Bill to address the state's long-term care and workforce issues. So folks, will President Biden do something for this? Folks, we have a ton of news about the fourth stimulus checks, Social Security benefits, SSI and SSDI. There's a huge deadline for millions of Americans, and officials have confirmed they need to take action to claim a one-time relief check. In roughly 2 months, the governor of Connecticut will send out nearly $170 million in tax rebates and other payments to low and middle-income families, with children and to Connecticut's working poor. While it's part of one of the largest tax cuts in state history, it also marks the largest election year outpouring of one-time relief, since the governor sent $115 million in tax rebates to Connecticut households as he sought re-election in 1998. The state's administration hopes to send out at least 300,000 child tax credit rebates this year to single parents earn less than $100,000 in 2021, and to two-parent families that earn less than $200,000. Families must file with the State Department of Revenue Services before June 1st and July 31st to receive a credit. The administration said it expects to issue the relief in August. Around the same time, it also expects to distribute $40 million to $45 million among roughly 180,000 working poor households who claim the state's earned income tax credit on the 2021 state tax returns. The state earned income tax credit currently is worth 30% of the federal credit and provides recipients an average benefit of $700. The one-time $300 bump Lamont and other Democrat-controlled legislature approved for earned income tax credit recipients effectively raised the state credit temporarily to 42% of the tax benefit. But tax reform advocates have been pushing for years to make permanent a child tax credit and enhance earned income tax credit program. The governor of the city wants to reassess the state's fiscal health after much of the $3 billion in federal crisis relief Connecticut received last year has been exhausted. Over the weekend, buyers paid a $5 a gallon, or roughly $100 to fill the tank, and gas prices have doubled since Biden took office. JP Morgan analysts predict $6 a gallon by August, and experts warn this crisis will continue even after Biden's term ends because he's dismantling fossil fuel production. There are now 20 states plus Washington, D.C. with averages of $5 or above. The highest price states remain California with a state average of $6.42 a gallon. 31% of the nation's 130,000 gas stations were already selling gas for more than $5 a gallon. There are stations and states where gas is cheaper. About 15% of stations nationwide still are selling gas for less than $4.50 a gallon. But even in May, states where gas is cheaper, such as Mississippi, lower average income can mean drivers have to work longer to fill up their tanks. Biden has fighting inflation is good news. More relief checks are on the way.